So we're going to be making a wine barrel smoker. What I've done is got an oak wine barrel from one of the local wineries, and I've also got it set up on one of the racks so that it's easy to turn. It keeps it straight when I'm putting the screws into the hoops to secure the stave, and it keeps it nice and straight for when I want to cut the top off and get a nice square finish. At this stage what you'll need to do is get yourself some screws like this. So we've got some button head needle point 15mm 8 gauge screws with some drills to suit so that you can drill the hole. So the best thing to do to start with is to start drilling the holes in each of the hoops through to the stave. So when you're drilling the hole, make sure you don't go in too deep, because you want the thread of the screw to bite into the oak stave and get a good grip. So just keep a little bit of back pressure on the drill when you're using it, so it just goes through the steel hoop, and then you stop drilling the hole. So I've found the best thing to do is to screw each of the staves off to the hoops rather than just a few. So just do that for a start, and then we'll keep going. So just a little tip to look for where you know where to put the screws in. You can see each of the staves are different widths. This one's a wider one here, and then this one's a narrow one here. So just look for the little cracks on each side of the stave, and then just center up your hole into the stave through the hoop. So basically I'm just using a Makita impact drill, which makes it really nice and easy. It drives the screw in there, it's going in nice and strong, it gets a good bite, and it will last well. So the next thing that we need to do is cut a hole for the exit of the gas line that goes into the burner, which is inside. So on this particular barrel it falls between the third and the fourth hoop with the height that we need. Inside we've used a paver just to set the burner on. So here's an inside view. You can see the burner sitting on top of the paver, and there's the hole for the exit. So all you have to do is measure the height that the pipe from the burner you're going to use is going to exit the barrel at, and cut a hole. I've made it big enough to get my hand through, so I can adjust the tap and control the flow of the gas. So on our barrel that we're using, what we wanted to have on top was the date display and the number and the brand and information that it's French American oak. And so that means we need to put the barrel up the right way. So we're going to have our hose exit at the back of the barrel, which is equivalent to this side. So you can see just here I've already marked out the cutout that I'm going to do with the jigsaw. So you just need to drill a couple of pilot holes in the corner. And then you'll end up with 4 pilot holes ready for the jigsaw blade to cut the hole out. Because of the thickness of the oak staves, I'm using a reciprocating jigsaw, which makes the job of cutting it out much easier. Just give the hole a bit of a sand off to remove any sharp edges. On the inside as well. So the next part of what we've got to do with making the barrel smoker is to cut the lid off the barrel, and to do that the best thing to do is use a power saw setup. So what I've done is I've preset the guide or the fence to the place that I want it, and I've also set the bottom plate of the saw to the angle of the barrel where I'll be doing the cut, so it gives a nice straight cut through the staves. Don't use a jigsaw. I've seen people that do that, and it will work if that's all you've got, but it won't give a really good straight cut, whereas a power saw will. So it's good to try and get a power saw. They're pretty cheap to buy if you don't have one, and then you can remember to put your safety gear on, because there's a lot of small little splinters in that oak, and with the wind blowing like it is today, it can get in your eyes pretty easy. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll move out now and we'll see how I set it up on the barrel. So basically what you want to do is have your guide so that it goes around this bottom hoop of the barrel like that, and then I've set up the bottom plate of the saw to compensate for the angle across the barrel that you've got here. And so then we'll go on and make our cut. And there we have it. So after we've cut the lid off, the next thing we need to do is just get a sander and just go around the top of the rim just to remove all the little sharp splinters that will be there. Remember to go around the outside and around the inside as well, and do that on both the barrel and do that on the lid as well. So the next thing to do is, just after you've sanded around the lid and the top of the barrel where you've made your cut, put the lid back on, line it up in its proper position, and then we're going to fit a hinge to the rear of the lid. You don't have to have a hinge, you can just put a couple of handles on and lift the lid on and off. It's entirely up to you how you do that. So because this one has the hoop rivets at the back where the customer wanted the lid to hinge, we can use a hinge like that, or we can use a bigger hinge like this one, which I've used on other ones, and you can do cutouts in for the rivets as well. So a couple of options there that you can use. So the next thing is install the hinge for the lid. So the next thing I've done is install two chains just to hold the lid up so that it sits in place. Pretty easy to do. The next thing I did was to install a handle on the front. Makes it nice and easy to lift your lid up and down. Also, you'll need to drill a hole in the lid so you've got a little chimney. So I've got an old stainless steel fitting from the winery here. Just drilled a hole. That just sits over the top. There's all sorts of ways you could do it. You could have it sitting like that if you want. You could have nothing at all, just have a hole for the smoke to come out. So that's what we've done for this one. The next part that we've got to think about is our grill plate that we're going to use inside. And so what I've done is I've got some stainless steel mesh. So this is 3mm diameter mesh with 25mm square holes, stainless steel. And you need to get that, depending on the size of your barrel, you'll have to measure the inside position around about the centre of your barrel, or just slightly above. We're going to make 3 shelf positions. So we've got the closer to the flame we go, the hotter the burn will be, and the higher we go in the barrel, the cooler the smoking burn will be. So what we've done is to make up a stainless steel shelf, and to do that we've cut a template like this. So in my barrel it's 68cm diameter that I'm after, so I've made a half 68cm template. And to do that I just simply got a pencil, tied a bit of wire around it, measured half of 68cm, which is 34, measured up there 34, held the wire in place and then just drew a semicircle, cut that out with a jigsaw, sand the edge, and then you can place that on your mesh to cut the shelves out. So if you get a full bar along the back and then just get a texter felt tip pen and draw around it, you'll get a semicircle use a 1mm stainless steel blade and an angle grinder. So stainless steel / metal cutting blade and an angle grinder. Make sure you put your earmuffs on and your safety glasses because the little sparks that will kick off it. And then cut out your semicircles, which will look like that. Then I've joined two together back to back. The reason you can't just do one circle is, of course, it doesn't fit in the top because the barrel's wider in the middle than the top. But if you've got it in half like that, then you can drop it in the barrel and open it up onto the shelf supports. So just looking up here and moving this out of the way, what we're going to have is two shelf supports. So I've got two 12mm rods with a little bend on the end, and we're just going to drill 3 holes on each side, and then those rods will push through and out the back of the barrel. Then we put this in and open it up, and this grill plate sits on top of those rods. So I've marked out 3 holes that I'm going to be using. To do that, I positioned the shelf support rods equally, measuring the gap here and here with my tape. I then used a level just to draw down and draw a line straight down the barrel, and then I measured up from the bottom, from this hoop, three measurements. So I've done that on this side of the barrel and the other side of the barrel, and then I'm just going to use a 13mm speedball bit to drill the holes for the 12mm rod to go through. For the shelf support rods, I've used 12mm stainless steel, and this one's 74 centimetres long with a 5 centimetre bend on the end. So all I did was just measure across the diameter of the barrel where I wanted the shelf support to go through, just to make sure there was a little bit that sticks out each end. So nice and simple. Shouldn't cost you that much to buy that from your local engineering shop, and get them even to put a bend on the end while they're at it. So what we have to remember when you drill the hole is it's good if you have the rod just sitting on top of the barrel to help line your drill angle up with the rod where it should come out through the back, because you don't want to just drill it on that angle, you've got to drill it straight. So it's going to be a nice straight hole for your rod to go through. Then your rod can go through the front, and then it can go through the one in the back, and away you go. They also are handy because they can be little carry handles for you when you want to move the barrel around as well. Alright, so take your drill. We've got one rod in, self support's working fine. Line up with the markings that you've made. All I'm doing now is keeping my drill in line with the rod that I've already got in there, so it's nice and easy. And that's that. Drill all your holes. Okay, so I've drilled the holes in the barrel. As you can see, I've got 3 holes for 3 different shelf heights depending on the temperature that I'm looking for, what I'm cooking. So if you're cooking fish, etc., you'd probably be up on the top where you don't want as much heat. But anyway, it's just an experiment. I'm going to be doing a lamb shoulder this weekend, which I'm looking forward to. So I've got my shelf here. At the moment I've just tacked them together with a bit of wire off the bench, but use some stainless steel, like 1.6mm stainless steel filler rod, something like that, and bend it over. That's all you need. You could even run a TIG weld around the outside and put a little piece of 3mm round around the outside just to neaten it off if you want. But simply fold your shelf, place it inside the barrel like so, and then you undo it inside the barrel and you can see that it lays flat. So let's have a look in there with the camera and you can see how the shelf lays flat, and away you go. So we'll maybe cover the smoking mix as well, just so that you can see how that goes. But basically on the burner down in the bottom here, you can use an old cake tin and just line that with foil and put your smoking mix inside that. I don't know what you want to use, there's lots on the internet. Have a play around with a bit of a blend of stuff and have it on a really low heat. It's great to have low and slow when you're smoking, and you can put a bit of water if you're doing a longer cook. You can chuck some water around the inside of the barrel just to keep the staves moist. Also sit some on the top, pour water on it just to keep it moist, stops it all drying out. So happy smoking, and have fun building the barrel smoker.